Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures, and welcome back to the shop, and welcome back to our Polaris Sportsman 700. We're going to go ahead and wheel this thing outside and get it defunctified, get all the cobwebs and grease, hopefully, and all those things off of it. And hopefully we can get to doing some actual work on it and make it what it's going to be. Stick around. All right, can we push Captain Flat Tire? Here we go. And I kind of push it sometimes. Never mind that green thing sitting right there on the right. All right, so now that we've got the wheels off, we can really get a good look at this thing before we clean it so we can really see what's needed. Anyway, let's get into it and have a look. So on the right side, we saw it when we took the wheel off. Obviously, that CV boot is destroyed along with this one down here. And that's okay, because we're going to replace all the axles, but we can see that, and this thing's been slinging grease for a while. I suspect with the low amount of hours and miles on it, the bearings are probably fine, but we'll check those out once we actually get the hubs apart. All through here, it's just grimy. We're going to see what we can do about that. Obviously, at some point, we're going to lube up the U-joints that are on the prop shafts, front and rear. Let's head around to the other rear end side, and we can see a split boot there. And I believe up top, it's been leaking some grease pretty good. It's pretty wet on that top boot. And again, just grimy all through here. Yeah. Shocks look okay, they're just dirty. Down here under the engine looks good. What's nice is I don't see any evidence of any water or oil leaks, so that's a good thing. Prop shaft looks okay. Let's have a look at this front axle here. That actually looks okay. We're going to replace it anyway, but that looks okay. How about this side? Yeah, same thing. This one looks okay, but again, we're going to go ahead and replace it anyway. Look at the shocks. The shaft is clean. That looks okay. I'm not sure why it's scratched up. That's a little strange. Come to this side. Yeah, and see we have evidence that the seals on this one are leaking, so fluid goes away and you can see it's been a little wet. So we may have to go ahead and replace the actual strut shock cartridge that's in here. I don't know if these are rebuildable. No clue. What else do we see? A little bit wet at that seal right there, coming out of the front gear case, but I don't know if it's leaking or if it's from the grease coming off the U-joint. I think we're going to leave that for now. We'll clean it off, and after we change the fluid, if it continues to leak, then we'll have to get into it. As you can see, more tarantula donkey webs. That's great. Other than that, doesn't look too bad. I haven't found any evidence of brake line leaks, which is nice. Just overall grimy and dirty. So I don't know if I'm going to use actual soap. Probably not. I'm going to use some degreaser. Found this stuff on the Amazon website called 3D Grand Blast. I don't know anything about it. The reviews were quite nice, talking about it just gets all the stuff off. People, diesel mechanics saying it works good. So I've gone ahead and bought a bottle, diluted it 4 parts to 1. It says that's what you do for extra heavy duty strength. I guess we're going to see how that goes. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Let's just start up top here. stuff doesn't smell great, but it doesn't honestly smell all that strong either. It kind of smells like Totally Awesome, if I'm honest. Let's see if it's any stronger, any more powerful. Probably not. All right, well, we've done a little bit. Let's get the top of the radiator, because why not? The bottle says wait 30 seconds, rinse it off. It also says avoid use on painted surfaces. If it's just degreaser, I don't see the reason for that. But let's see how this does. Well, it seems to be working. I got a hose wrapped around my ankles already. Took all of 3 minutes. That's awesome. Well, and that light little bit of grease we had up here in the top and funk, man, doesn't look too bad. I see you, 3D degreaser. Let's get some more degreased and done. Why not? What is that? That's like a pile of poop. Get up in here on that gear case. Well, in the words of Darth Vader, impressive. Most impressive. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and get to spraying this whole quad down and see how it does. Well, I tell you, this thing does look a lot better. Now, I did notice that a lot of the metal parts are just stained. And a lot of that's from just storing it outside. People, don't store your machines like this outside. Anyway, let's have a look. Look at the chunks of crap that just came off this thing, but we've gotten the majority of all the gunk out of here, even around this right rear back here. Left rear around the gear case, that looks better. Down here on the engine, of course, we saw this earlier. Yeah. And I even found a souvenir while I was in there. For some reason, there was a nail sitting behind the radiator. I don't understand why. And while I was washing off the wheels, just for no good reason, I found that somebody had taken the time and energy to balance them. What? I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of questions like that as we go through this quad. We've already had a few. Why was there rubber hose on the handlebars? You know, where did the sway bar bushings go? They're big. Where'd they go? Why was there a nail you know, behind the radiator. Look, I think we're going to find a lot of that, and that's okay. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the wheels back on it and get it rolled back up here into the shop. Okay, so we've got the quad ATV four-wheeler. Anyway, we've got it back in the shop here, got it up on the lift, tires are taken back off of it, but I'm trying to figure out what it is exactly I want to do next. So I'd like to go ahead and get the fluids changed. However, to do that, we probably need to run it a bit, and to do that, well, it needs to run. So I think, let's do that. Let's see if we can make it run first. So we know the carburetor is going to be gummed up, and the gas tank has fluid in it that at one point resembled gasoline, but no longer does. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get the gas tank off and air box, get the carburetor, get it out, and we'll start working on that. I think that's where we'll start. That sounds more or less like a plan. Let's go do that. Can we disco that hose without breaking it? No, but it just kind of wraps up in here. So we can just pull it out. Oh yeah. That'll work. And there we go. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of gas in this, or at least what used to be gasoline anyway. Lovely. Well, with the gas tank out of the way now, we can try to go ahead and get this carburetor out. I think that's going to be taking the air box out. And, you know, it's not witchcraft. It comes out pretty easy. Okay, now let's see. We've got a couple of screws on the back of the carburetor here, and then we can take this off. Let's see if those screws are going to want to come out. Oh, yeah. Now, these are these brass screws. If you've ever done work on carburetors or anything where you've got these more brass type screws, you have to be careful. You can very quickly booger up the head of that bolt there. the choke can be at times tricky. Meaning you can't really get a wrench on that easily. You can get a wrench on this. This is going to be 8 millimeters, I think, and I think that's 12. We're going to see if we can get a wrench on that 8 and if it'll break the whole thing loose. This breather here is in the way as well. That's okay. Yes. You can see we're turning the whole assembly, which is exactly what we want. There we go. Now all that's left is to get the throttle cable undid. So let's see what's under here. Okay, it's got a little O-ring seal on there, and that looks in good shape, so we shouldn't need to replace that. And then it looks like we should be able to just take up the, what you can't see. Looks like we should be able to just take up the slack in the cable and pop that out. And that should come out. For that, I just like to take one of my favorite carburetor working screwdrivers. You pull the throttle open, and then I can kind of hold it open with my finger or thumb. And then use the screwdriver to pull the cable around. And then pop it up. And then of course you have the barrel on the end of the cable. And then we can take the cable out from there. And that's just unscrewing it right there. There we go. And then now we have the carburetor completely free from the quad ATV four-wheeler, and it's leaking gas. That's perfect. All right, so I'm at my favorite carburetor rebuilding place, and of course I've got the carburetor, and I've got a selection of some of my favorite screwdrivers. We've got a couple of different number 2 Phillips, and then a selection of little tiny flatheads, and depending on how the jets and things are in these, we'll figure out which one of these favorite little screwdrivers we need. And I'm going to grab the little basket doohickey. I'm going to put it on this dishcloth here from the kitchen. Okay. I like to start with the top for no particular reason other than that's where I like to start. Usually this is my screwdriver of choice. After I was done editing this video, I realized this whole carburetor rebuild part, it's like 45 minutes long, so I took it out. If you want to watch it, I've put it up here in the link, and you can go up there, check it out. We step by step through the entire rebuild of this carburetor. Otherwise, continue watching and we'll put it back in the quad here, and we'll see if we can make it run. So in doing my research on these 700s, I did run across a part that's prone to fail and leak and crack, and when that happens, you end up with a lean condition, which will make it not run right. And that's going to be the boot here that the carburetor mounts onto. So I do have a replacement. We're going to go ahead and take this one off, and since we're here, might as well put the new one on. Okay, this looks like about a 1/2 inch. Okay, it doesn't look to me like it's really cracked. But look, I'm already in here to this point. I would hate to have a problem and have to take it back apart. So we're just going to go ahead and replace it. It was a cheap replacement. And let's check out this mating surface. I think we'll go ahead and clean on that. So here we have our replacement. It is from the Amazon website. It's not a factory OEM part. I decided to go cheap on this because I figured, well, how hard can it be to make one of these? And how hard can it be to open one of these? There we go. And it pretty much looks the same. It's got metal embedded. We've got good raised mounting surface. That's good. Oh, and it even comes with a new, whatever that is, hose clamp. And it has the clocking tab, just like the original one there. Let's go ahead and put this on. Let me tell you, the wind sure is picked up. Anyway. And that should just set right on there. Of course, it's not going to hold itself in place. Let's go get the couple of bolt that holds it where it goes. There we go. And there we go. Look at that nice new shiny part. Now, I had lied to you on the size of the socket there. I said 1/2 inch. It is not a 1/2 inch. 13 millimeters, because Polaris. Actually, these engines are made by Fuji. So pretty much most of the bits on the engine and attached to the engine are going to be metric. Still, pick a size type Polaris is all I'm saying. Okay. Well, that works much better when you have the right size socket. Lovely. Well, I just went back and gave it a how you doing snug up with just a little bit of a ratchet. Now we're going to get into yet another pain point of all Polarises, and it's not a big deal, but it is something else to watch out for. On the airbox, you have the boot. Right there where my pinky is. Right there. See the pinky? That boot. And a lot of times that boot likes to dry itself out and become another bit of a leak and let dirt get into your, into your carburetor. And we don't want that. So we went ahead and picked up another boot, and we're going to go ahead and change that out. And while we're there, I'm going to change that filter. You'll never guess what flavor filter we got. So if you would have guessed UNI Filter, you'd have guessed right. I love these things. Anyway, let's see. Let's get this old filter out of here. Well, why did they put well, that's not even on there. I don't even know what flavor. I think that's the original filter. As a matter of fact, I know it's the original filter because it has a Polaris part number in the end of it. Wow. I'm just going to put that over there. There's some foam bits in here. That's always nice. And we have to get this out of here somehow. Well, let's look at our replacement. So this is our replacement, and it looks filthy, which is kind of funny because it was in this bag that's sealed. Not quite sure how it looks like that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know that this is correct. I don't think this is the correct part. So we're going to probably send this back. Okay, well, we're not going to do that right now. Well, let's inspect it for cracks, because maybe we'll be good and we don't need a new one. The good thing is I'm not seeing any cracks in this, which is a miracle, if I'm honest. I've replaced this on almost every unit that's not the new ones. So we'll call that a miracle that we don't have to replace it. But since we're here and we have a brand new UNI filter, let's go ahead and put that in just because. Also, you cannot forget your stickers. UNI has some of the best looking stickers. Look, they're just red, white, and black. They're simple. They say UNI. Can't ask for anything more. Okay. I didn't realize. Fullerton, California. Well, that's not very far from where I live. And that fits like a glove, to be expected. And these are pre-oiled. Of course, the red part's not oiled. It's the yellow filter inside that's pre-oiled. So you don't have to oil it when they're new. Just put them in. There we go. That's it. That's a UNI installed right there. We'll just go put this back on the bench over there. Apparently when I was rebuilding that carburetor, I must have inhaled or ingested some of that brake parts cleaner and some of the carburetor cleaner stuff, because I've got a bit of a bronchial thing happening. So if I cough, pardon me, apologies. Otherwise, I'm going to be sucking on cough drops. Cough drops? No, cough drops. Like they're candy, just to keep it so we can keep making videos. Anyway, before we put the carburetor on, I want to get into a couple of things. I want to look at the fuel line, which is, you know, kind of there. And it's got some heat shrink or heat shielding on it. Not heat shrink, heat shielding. It's just completely rotted away. And then on the fuel tank, kind of the same thing. We've got some heat shielding that's more or less rotted away, and the hoses do not look great. So I think we're going to try to replace those. Doesn't make sense to go through all the work rebuilding carburetor and try to make it run right if you're going to put a gas tank on that has fuel lines that are broken, brittle, rotten, and don't work. I think we're also going to change the spark plugs while we're in here. Might as well. I got new ones for it. Sure. Okay, if I was fuel line, where would I be? Nope. Wait, there we go. I think this fuel line is the right size, and we need cutters. Lovely. And heat shielding. That is down here. I know it is because I saw it. There it is. Well, quite simply, just gonna pop off this one. We'll just do it first, and then hopefully it'll come loose. Hopefully it'll come loose. Well, maybe it doesn't want to come loose. Should I just cut it? Yeah. There we go. Oh, good. Now this isn't pressurized, so I don't really have any problems using the clip over again. Mainly because I don't have any more. This should be the same diameter, roughly. Okay, and then we need to make it the same length, which this one is this one. Make sure you're using a cutter that isn't, side cutters. Actual hose cutters are nice. Get a nice clean cut. And let's see if we can get it off this end. Not so easy. I want to be careful. I don't want to break the fuel valve because, well, I don't have another one handy. We'll just do the same thing and we'll cut it off. There we go. Get gasoline on the nice workbench. Great. Okay, that looks good. Now we just got to do the other one. There we go, that should do it. They seem snug. Now this stuff here I bought on the Amazon website. It's pretty good heat shielding. I had bought it because the generator on my toy hauler likes to get hot enough to vapor lock the fuel in the fuel line between the carburetor and the fuel pump. So wrapped it in this product and it worked pretty good. And I think we can just cut 2 bits that are the same length, and that should do. And I did check in the parts listing for these. There is, in fact, heat shielding for these fuel lines. So, you know, it does get kind of close to the exhaust, right where it comes off of the engine. So that makes sense. This stuff's pretty easy. You just Velcro it on. And like I said, it works pretty good. I've been using it on my generator for my toy hauler. It's been on there for about almost the last year, and it's been working good. And after you Velcro it, you can put zip ties on it if you want, but this Velcro is pretty decent. There we go. And that should protect on our brand new fuel lines. So I'm also going to go ahead and do the one that's down. Oh, there you are. I'm also going to go ahead and do the one that's down here from the fuel pump over to the carburetor. It's the same thing. I'm just going to replace the fuel line in the same way and put new, you know, heat shielding on it. It's the same process. We just did it. You'll see it when it's done. Okay, well, the fuel line is replaced. You can see we're new all the way from here to the fuel filter, and we actually put a brand new fuel filter in that I happen to have in inventory all the way back to, you know, where it goes to the carburetor. And yeah, these other fuel lines seem okay. I might replace this one. I don't know. This is the feed from the fuel tank. Goes right there. Wouldn't hurt to replace that. I don't have enough to replace this big long one. This is the vacuum that, you know, activates the fuel pump. Probably should go ahead and replace that one too, just because we can. May as well. I mean, we're already in here, right? Right. But before we do that, I think we're going to get into the spark plugs, which, you know, there's one there. And then there's one down there. I'd like to pull them, have a look, see what they look like. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'd say we should go ahead and change these. Yucky. What's weird is those are auto lights. I didn't know Ford made spark plugs for Polarises. Yeah, I know. That was a really dumb comment. Still. That one looks about the same. So again, you know, we know the thing was barely running, and when it was running like crap. Those spark plugs, well, they're proof of that, besides the fact that you heard it earlier in the last video where we heard it run poorly. Well, I guess not the last video, the video before that. Anyway, squirrel. We have some new spark plugs. They're around here somewhere. What with the NGK V-Power, or whatever they are, big KR7E. Okay. Gap, they're supposed to be pre-gapped to 35 or so thousandths. Let's see. Don't drop it. Yeah, see, they're a little on the snug side. Oh, sorry. What are you looking at the roof for? Here, let me put you back down. I'll just catch up to you when we put them in. Well, there we go. They're gapped. They were a little tight. They're supposed to be about 35 or 36 thousandths. They were at about 31 or 32 thousandths. So we went ahead and got them both to 35 thousandths. The gap on these wasn't bad, but those weren't going to do much anymore. Just going to go ahead and drop these back in. You can watch if you want, but I'm just going to do it whatever. I know there's a torque setting for these. My dad always taught me, get it tight and then quarter of a turn, and that's it. It's just something I've always done. I say they're torqued. Fair enough. Let's plug these back in. Okay. Yep, okay. Get on there. Okay. Are you on there? Yeah. Well, I guess it's time to go ahead and put the carburetor back on the quad ATV four-wheeler. Yeah. Okay. First thing I like to hook up is... Man, I wish this thing would come out of the way without breaking. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, first thing I like to hook up is the throttle cable, mainly because it's one of the more difficult things to hook up. Okay, now the fun part. So this goes on the end of the cable in a very specific way, like that. And then I'm going to open the throttle. Let's see if I can, there we go. And that should have done it. Yep, that looks good. Lovely. Now we just need to put the cover back on. Okay. And next, let's put the, I guess let's go ahead and get this choke put in, because that one also has a tendency to be a bit of a bugger. Well, okay then. Okay, now push the little boot back up on there, and I'm gonna make sure it still works. And now I guess we just go ahead and set this back in here. Now I'm not going to tighten the hose clamp up just yet, because we've got the bracket that goes on the back side that screws to the back of the carburetor. But before we do that, let's get this fuel line on. Brand new fuel line. How do you like that? Vent tube goes on here. Lovely. And now let's get this bracket. This bracket here, it goes on like this, and it holds the carburetor more or less to the frame. But that bracket is held on with these little rubber nuts. Like it's rubber and it's got threads on the back side. Come around to this side though, and the threads get out of my way. Well, they're gone. It's completely ruined. So, I got new ones. But what's kind of neat about the new ones is that, well, they're not the Polaris brand. You can get the Polaris brand. They still make them. They're still available. But our friends over at Quad Logic, not sponsored. Again, I just really like their company and what they do. They have a lot of, not just for Polaris, but for other machines as well, but they have a lot of OEM equivalent parts and bits for a lot less money, like half or a third generally of what the Polaris part is. So these are the new bits. I'm going to go ahead and put them in there. Yeah. See, nothing much left of that at all. Here we've got our new one. That just apparently just pushes in there. Okay, before we tighten these up, we'll go ahead and put the screws in the backside of the carburetor. Great. Never going to find that. It's gone forever. No, I'm going to have to find it. Where could it have gone? I just happened to find another one of these screws in inventory, and what I mean by that is I stole it from one of the other quads that were sitting in here. Just have to remember to replace that, probably. Okay, now we just need to tighten these up, and then we can finish putting stuff on. And these, I'm going to go kind of easy for now. There we go. I can feel it bunched up on the back side. Let's get this side. And I suspect, you know, one of the common issues with these 700s is the boot between the carburetor and the head. That rubber boot can crack. Well, the engine vibrates a lot. So you mount this to a rubber boot. But then you go ahead and mount it to the frame, the carburetor that is. So now you've got a carburetor that won't move attached to an engine that moves a lot. So now they've gone ahead and mounted the carburetor bracket here where it attaches to the frame in rubber, so it can move. So maybe pay attention to these rubber boots, and that'll allow the carburetor to move. No, it doesn't. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they mount the carburetor to the frame instead of having a hard mount to the engine, to the head, and then just have a flexible bit that goes to the, you know, the intake, the breather box. Anyway, let's get the fuel tank and set it on here. Just realized you watched that go in and, well, you were staring somewhere else. So what you just missed me struggling with was getting this put back on. Not sure why I didn't move the camera. Maybe because I'm embarrassed at how much I struggle with that. Probably. Okay. Now what? Oh, fuel lines. Yep, and these are just as much of a booger as they were when I took them out. Okay. Put the this one back up. Yep. And like I mentioned earlier, this line right here that we're doing, I did go ahead and replace that. This is the one that goes from the valve up to the pump. And let's take this off. Drop it, lose it. Yep. And the difficult bit is getting this all smashed in behind this bracket with all the other fuel lines that are in the way. There we go. Perfect. Lovely. Get our nut. And finally, the little knobby thing. Groovy. Okay, this looks done. We need an air box, some gasoline. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's get the air box pushed in. Let's pull this crankcase ventilation hose up and get that pushed onto the carburetor. Yep, like that. That's pushed all the way in. Yes, it is. Turn that clamp around so we can get to it. That'd be okay. 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 Let's tighten this booty up. Uh-oh. Why don't you go sliding on me now? Okay. That's good. Let's go ahead and bolt that down. Lovely. Hey. Yes. Just going to hook a couple of things up back up here. I think we're probably going to want to plug this back in for some reason. I don't know if that'll keep it from running or not, but I'd rather go ahead and do it than get frustrated later. What does that go to? I don't remember. Really don't remember what that went to. Oh, the headlight. Yeah, we don't need the headlight. We will need the ignition. We need to find the choke. There's the choke. Okay. Let's get the battery. That'd be nice. I wonder if this is supposed to have a hold down. I'll have to investigate on that. Okay. Gasoline? Sure. It's not exactly the freshest gasoline, but, you know, it's gasoline from the toy hauler, and it's not that old. It's fresh enough to still run the generator, so I'm sure it's just fine. Still smells like gasoline, so I'm sure that makes it good. It smells a lot better than what came out of there, that's for sure. That'll do. Just a couple of gallons. Perfect. Well, I guess there's nothing left to do right now except let's see if it runs. Okay, well, I guess there's nothing left to do really than to just try to go ahead and start it. Sure. Key on. Did that fire up? Yep. Choke. Sure. Let's turn the gas on. Yeah, I guess now we just try to start it. Well, it started. Well, it runs. For reference, we just turned the choke off. And let's see if she'll idle. Slowly, but yeah. Ha! It's alive! It's alive! Yes, 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 indeed. And it's running much better than it did before. And that's some pretty good throttle response. I love the way these twin cylinders sound. The throttle response is really good. Wow. And there we have it. I'm happy. Let's see if she'll start back up. Yeah, man. That makes me happy. So that was the main goal of this video. Let's get it cleaned up so we can work on it, and then let's work on it and let's see if we can make it run. Of course, you saw we rebuilt the carburetor, we cleaned up some things, replaced some fuel lines, put some new heat shielding on the fuel lines, cleaned up the gas tank, put that back in, put a new air filter on, and well, it does the thing. And that was the main goal for today. Could we get it running? And I think we did. So now I think I'm just going to let it run for a while, make sure that the carburetor, of course the carburetor, that's not what I was trying to say. Let it run for a while, let it warm up, make sure the thermostat's going to open, it's going to circulate the coolant, and the fan's going to kick on and cool itself back off. Make sure nothing melts, that's important. And I think in the next video, we're going to get into probably changing the fluids, and probably also, at some point, we got to replace the axles and the front shocks, sway bar bushings, hub carrier bolts. lube everything up. And then do something with those tires because, well, they're old and dry rotted. Clean up the plastic, that'd be nice. And I guess ride it. So probably a few more videos. Look, there's still plenty to come on this quad here, or ATV, or four-wheeler, whatever you want to call it. But I appreciate you hanging out with me today. If you're not subscribed, little red button, push it, says subscribe. You'll be subscribed. It's free, it's cheap, it's easy. Cheap and free are the same thing, I guess, isn't it? Anyway, if you'd do that, that would be really awesome of you. And if you're still watching by the end of this video, again, you're awesome. I guess that'll do it. In the meantime, ride safe. Bye-bye now. Let's see, is this thing still going to start again? Let's see. Oh, yeah.